So we are officially past 6 months into this year, 2025. There are quite a lot of misses, in my opinion. And if we look at the back half of my list, we will probably see that there are films on here that I don't particularly think are of a great quality, but I think are of a very good quality. Pretty much every film from about 7 to 10 I have criticism of, but I can also say I enjoyed. At the very least, I thought they were entertaining, if nothing else. As we have moved progressively through the year, this list has gotten stronger, in my opinion. Now, I am cheating a bit by one of my entries is from July. If you've been watching my channel, you can quite clearly tell what that film is going to be, and you can probably tell that that is going to be quite high on the list. But I will say, if we had done this 3 months into the year, the top 10 films of the first 3 months, or the top 5 films of the first 3 months, it would have been pretty lackluster. I think the first 3 months of this year were pretty shit. And then with Sinners, that's when it starts to pick up, and we start to see more films come out that are of a higher quality. I am, however, expecting the back half of this year to have at least 2 or 3 films that are very high on my list. Weapons, through the roof excited for. I have consumed so much of the marketing for this movie. I think this is probably my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year. Sentimental value. I, for the first time, watched The Worst Person in the World this year. This movie also is on the horizon. Joachim Trier and Renata Renz are a great partnership, and I cannot wait to see what they put out again. And then one battle after another. I'm currently working my way through all of the PTA films, and this one seems to have that PTA, classic PTA energy that is in Magnolia, that is in Boogie Nights, specifically through John C. Reilly's character. That sort of off-kilter humour where it's very awkward and it's not really meant to be a joke. This is just part of the character's personality, but it comes off humorous anyways. I would suspect that by the end of the year, there are going to be about 3 or 4 films that I will concretely say, like, this is fucking spectacular. I think so far, there are probably 2. My number 1 on this list is, in my opinion, a fucking, like, genuine feat of brilliance. So with that being said, number 10 is Tornado. This is a samurai crossed with Western, crossed with the Scottish Highlands, starring Jack Lowden, Tim Roth, and K-pop singer Koki. This is one that is very upfront about what it is. It's a slow burn Western mixed in with a lot of samurai elements. This isn't offering you much depth, but what it is offering you is a very fun time, and it is very upfront about the fact that this is not a deep movie. This is a very on-the-surface, sort of cookie-cutter revenge story, blending the Western style with samurai style. My only real criticism of the movie is that it's just under an hour and a half, and you only really see the main character, Tornado, pick up her martial arts side in the final sort of 15-20 minutes. I just wanted more from it, and even though I think the first hour 10, hour 15 minutes are pretty good, the last 10-15 minutes are so great, I wanted more of that, not less of it. But this is a very fun time that I think I will probably return to at least once or twice. In 9th, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I think when this film came out, I thought it was very good. I have to say, over the course of the past few months, I just feel like I've forgotten a lot of what has happened in this film, other than maybe the opening sequence where Ethan Hunt is given his mission, and then the 2 big action sequences that the film was essentially built around. And those action sequences are very good, but I just don't think I could tell you a single plot detail about this film, and I have just forgotten basically everything. I think everyone in the film is pretty good. I think the cast is pretty good. I think the film looks very good. I just don't remember a lot of it, is the worry that I have. And whether it's late this year or whether it's the start of next year, I will probably watch this film again. I just sort of think it files under the weaker Mission Impossible films. I enjoy this more than Mission Impossible 2. but that's not saying very much. I don't remember a lot of it, and there are serious questions to be had about whether or not this film actually succeeds in what it's trying to do. And given that this is either the beginning of a new Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt era, or the end of it, this film is pretty significant, and I think either way, it kind of fails. Next, after that, we have the Michael Fassbender, Cate Blanchett, Steven Soderbergh film Black Bag. It's written better, it's got better characters, it's better acted, it's better everything than Mission Impossible, and it sort of just accepts that it's a fun spy thriller. It's not attempting to be more, which is what Mission Impossible fails at, which is that it is attempting to be a deeper story, and yet it can't finagle its way out of the problems that it calls itself. In this, it is just a very self-contained story about a couple who are both spies who are essentially being goaded into a trap by one of their colleagues. This is a very self-contained film that I think I could return to a million times and just constantly have fun. It's one that you could watch 15 minutes of it, have fun. You could watch an hour of it, have fun. You could watch the full thing, have fun. I think the polygraph scene with Maria Isabel and Michael Fassbender is fucking hilarious and is just weirdly one of the funniest things I've seen this year. And then number 7, we have The Phoenician Scheme by Wes Anderson, starring Benicio del Toro, Mia Thrippleton, Michael Cera. This film is, I'm going to keep saying this, but this film is, again, just pretty fun. I enjoyed this a lot. It's definitely on the weaker side, in my opinion, of Wes Anderson. But there is a heartfelt story at the heart of this film to be had. I just believe that ultimately it gets bogged down in its ensemble cast, and it wants to show you Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks and Riz Ahmed and all these characters. I don't really care about them. The heart of this movie is the family. It is those 3 leads. The most amount of fun that I had in this film was the first 15 minutes and the final 15 minutes. The rest of the film, the middle of it, is good. It's just not great. And I felt like I was being ripped away from the film that I really wanted to see. And that's just somewhat disappointing, but that's also kind of Wes Anderson's thing, is that he sets up a very simple story with, say, 2 or 3 characters, and then he goes, oh, and look at the rest of these. In this case, I just don't think it works necessarily. In, something like the Grand Budapest Hotel, it works because you constantly have the dynamic of the 2 main leads, and then everyone else is just there to serve their relationship. I didn't really get that in this film. It just sort of files under fun Wes Anderson more than anything else, and it's not to the level of a Mr. Fox or a Grand Budapest Hotel, ultimately. And then at number 6, we've got Predator, Killer of Killers. I fucking had a shit ton of fun with this. I really enjoy what Dan Trachtenberg is doing with the Predator franchise. This idea of having 3 self-contained stories set in the samurai, the Vikings, in World War II with the United States Air Force, that is so cool to show off a different idea about Predator lore. This idea that they are hunting people, but then when they can't get them, they take them prisoner as the most powerful warriors they've ever had. That's such a fun idea, and I obviously think that in some sense this is a limited sort of idea, that it's 3 self-contained stories, an hour and a half, and then you have a grand finale where all the characters come together to beat one predator. You're not going to get a super deep movie with all the motives and like everything is going to be like, oh, right, yeah, this is the most complex character. This isn't going to be the most complex character altogether. But Dan Trachtenberg isn't going for that, in my opinion. He's going for different levels of fun and entertainment, and then some of the films will be deeper. Prey was a deeper film about someone's desire to prove themselves, and then kind of learning that that's a false god of a goal. When Predator Badlands comes out later this year, this makes me very excited for that. And I have full faith in Dan Trachtenberg. In number 5 is the Joseph Kosinski, Brad Pitt, Damson Idris star vehicle F1. This is, don't get me wrong, a giant ad campaign for the sport of Formula One, and I have no interest in it. And I will say that I think in some scenes in this film, I did get kind of lost. I think it kind of gets bogged down in its lingo and its sort of deep lore about Formula One. But this clearly isn't for me. And I'm fine with accepting that and just taking F1 at its face value of going, whatever I understand, great. If I don't understand something, I can't complain about it. And that's exactly what F1 does. It threads the needle quite finely between bringing in more casual audiences like myself and bringing in people like friends that I've got who go, yeah, I really understand F1, and who, by and large, I think have enjoyed this movie. Again, I think the film's got some issues. Brad Pitt isn't necessarily great in the film. I thought the Kerry Condon character was basically just funneled into, she's an attractive woman, and we need an attractive woman to fall in love with Brad Pitt in this film. And I wasn't a fan of that, particularly because they introduced her as, she's a woman in STEM. Oh my god, look at how good she is. And she's sort of just there by the end of the film. And at the start of the film, they set her up as a very important lead. Overall, this is a classic summer blockbuster that I had a ton of fun with. It is obviously in the same mold as Top Gun Maverick of, you have this aging hero, you have a new, younger hero. It works. It's very good. It's very fun. Again, it's not deep or anything. When the film attempts to be deep, you've seen it all before. It's classic sort of movie jargon or blockbuster jargon about the hero's journey and redemption and, oh, win the race, but also get the girl and get your team on side, get your rival on your side as well. It's done effectively well. There is also the fact that we don't really get movies like that anymore, so getting a rare one in this doesn't feel saturated, and I can take one of these movies a year and I can have a lot of fun with it. Number 4, we have Final Destination, Bloodlines. This film was a fucking ton of fun. It knows completely what it is, and it's fucking banging. I love this film. Whether it's the fact that it doesn't expect you to know the actors that are in this film, whether it's that it doesn't expect you to remember the names of its characters, or whether it's the fact that it just goes, you're here for the kills. We get it. And it just leans right into that. It opens immediately with a premonition, and this big grand setup is so cool. The MRI scene in this film is fucking great. Quite clearly, the gauge for this year is this movie fun? And pretty much every film on this list so far, I've had a shit ton of fun with. And this one is at the top of that. And it just sort of accepts its lane and it leans into its strengths. Number 3 is the first film on this list where I'm like, oh, this is top tier shit for me. And that is Superman. If you've watched my review, you will know that I fucking love this film. I think it's great. I think that this movie is so good at setting up this universe and so good about returning us to basic Superman that I will basically overlook all of that. Because, alright, pocket hole universe stuff, it's a superhero movie, it's probably going to have something like that. Alright, that river scene might look like a fucking mess, which it does, but I can work past all of that because you have delivered what no one has been able to do for like 50 years, which is giving us an authentically proud to be Superman movie. I'm so happy that we got this movie. Like, and the setup that this has for the DC universe, which is saying we will go where we need to go for this film. is such a confidence builder in James Gunn, but also James Gunn's universe. This isn't going to be carbon copy. Every film is the same. And of course, we will learn more about that in the Clayface movie specifically, which is meant to be a R-rated horror film, which I cannot fucking wait for. This does such a good job. This understands what Superman is. This understands the characters. This understands that the majority of people who now watch Superman films are at the very least 22, 23. And this will be one that I could possibly see staying in the top 3 for the year. But as I've already said, we have quite a strong back half, in my opinion. But ultimately, the best sign, or the best vote of confidence I could give this movie is saying, I'm all in on James Gunn's DC now. Any skepticism that there was, and the majority of the skepticism was not coming from me, should now be washed away. We don't have that anymore. Okay, so it should be painfully obvious at this point, and it probably should have been at the start, what my number 1 and 2 are going to be. But it was quite obvious it was going to be these two. And I think this debate will continue to rage on. Number 2 is Sinners. Now, I fucking love Sinners. This is a really deep movie that has a lot going on in it. I think the first half of this film is genuinely... I had so much fun in that first half of the film. I think the second half of the film has a couple of issues. I don't think it ends in a way that I felt like was particularly potent for me. I think the Avengers Assemble scene is a bit weird, and I think the film kind of just does away with the love interest's sort of motivations for the purpose of just getting these couples back together. And plot-wise, I understand why it does that, but character-wise, I think it takes away from the female characters, which I thought was a bit disappointing given how progressive this movie actually is. I thought that was a bit weird. But overall, this film it's so stylistically unique. And, you know, when we've had so much Ryan Coogler that is just major blockbuster franchises, it is nice to really get an idea of what is a Ryan Coogler film that isn't a franchise that he has written. I was already in on Ryan Coogler, but now I am like, okay, can you get to the next level? Because you're not on, you know, Nolan's level, Villeneuve, Spielberg, that sort of level. But can you get there? And I fucking hope he does, because this film is so good. The music is great, the writing is great, the acting is great, the casting is fucking brilliant. The idea that you could find Miles Caton when before this, he was just a backup dancer for her, and he had never been an actor. That's fucking great, and he's arguably the best character in the film. You know, obviously Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Masaku, everyone in this film is great. Jack O'Connell, and as I say, is the music influencing a whole like generation of young people to go, yeah, I want to listen to blues music. That's so bizarre. If it hadn't have been for my number 1, that film would quite clearly be or Sinners would quite clearly be my number 1, which is 28 Years Later, is almost issueless. I don't think I have any real issues with 28 Years Later. Whereas Sinners, I do have the issues that I mentioned, but I think it's still like up there. Like, I still think it's top tier. 28 Years Later, however, I think is like you could see Jodie Comer possibly going in for an Oscar nomination. I don't think she will, because it's a horror film, a zombie film, and it's a summer blockbuster. Overall, 28 Years Later is fucking great. The top 3 films in this list are like all great, and if anyone put any of them at number 1, I'd be more than happy with it. But with that being said, my camera's about to die, so I think this list is only going to get stronger, and I cannot wait to see what comes out at the back half of this year. Sentimental value, one battle after another, weapons. They're all more than likely going to end up in that top half. So Thank you for watching. Bye.